Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, show where you come for your regular geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's our resident conspiracy theorist, Dre.
What? Okay.
I'm just building your pod up.
Okay. I mean, like, really, like, are you just gonna believe everything you're told? Like, surely you have like the scientific method.
You've watched too much Joe Rogan.
The scientific method
I get it.
Implies you question everything.
Does that mean that you're going to start talking about the pyramids now and how they shouldn't exist? You've watched too much Joe Rogan.
They should exist, but are we just sold on the fact that they were built by the Egyptians? Or maybe the rain deposit? No, go watch Joe Rogan if you want to hear
I don't care about it.
It's actually quite interesting, that episode. I have watched that
He's done many episodes on them. Do you remember the one I sent you
but
on
they're
like
experts.
Instagram?
He brings actual proper experts in.
Oh, no, I get it. They're the interesting ones. We've had this conversation.
Yeah,
Go back to many of our episodes.
I also just watched Anthony Jeselnik, the guy that's just like... Jeselnik.
Comedian, right?
Yeah, I watched an episode with him and Joe Rogan. It's
really?
quite funny. Yeah, it's older.
He's super dry, right?
Yeah, but he's kind of like just a homie.
Yeah.
On the actual, like, he's just normal dude. Like, he's not like this dark baby killing joke person in real life. Like, that's just his comedy persona.
Is that normal?
You know what I mean? Sorry. Anyway, what have
you been up to? What's been happening?
You beat me. Dude, just attracting, more fans to the pod. Like last night when my colleague...
Tell me. Grassroots? We going grassroots
Yeah,
again?
grassroots. My colleague totally introduced my boss and my boss's boss and all the leaders basically at our work dinner to the fact that I had a podcast. So now you got me stressing. Like, is this...
What have I been saying?
75 episodes I never thought about being appropriate. And all of a sudden I've got everybody listening. So...
Think long-term, DL.
Yeah, we got some new listeners, I'm sure.
You are the conspiracy theorist, so maybe you can bring some of that into your day-to-day work life.
I'm sure that they'll really appreciate that.
I think that's a new bit. I think at the beginning we're going to start calling you out for all, like, something to do with the plot of the whatever we're going to talk about that's, like, interwoven with your character. Or not. Just calling you out like Thor.
My existential conspiracy theories. I don't actually know why you just coined me on that. I never bring these up.
No, you don't. But
I don't actually believe in them.
Today, the main topic is a lot about conspiracy
theories.
I know you like them.
That was a ditzy moment for me.
It took a little while.
Yeah, that was a ditzy moment. You did. I apologize.
Well,
How about
I've
you,
been good too. Thanks for asking.
You don't let me get there.
No.
You're such a little twat.
No, man, I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I'll never ask you again.
For anyone who's interested, there will be time codes in the description. You can jump around. You can listen to us banter about Dre being a conspiracy theorist, what we've been up to, a little bit of news, and then we jump into our main topic, which, I mean, I'm pretty excited to talk about this week. I don't know about you.
I am. I'm really glad my boss now thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist as well.
Well, if you listen to the next one, you'll be something else.
Yeah,
this is going to evolve as we go. What have you been up to this week?
I watched, after visiting the ruins of Pompeii, I thought, why not go and just watch some really historically accurate filmmaking?
Loki?
With Pompeii, the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's not historically accurate.
It's not?
That's a lie. In reality, they were vaporized instantly because of a hot gas, thing that was like not even visible, and their blood boiled. And
so is this
there was no romance
series?
No, this is the one with Kit Harington.
Oh, right. So you watched it.
I thought you caught me there. I thought you were with me. No,
it took me a ditzy moment there.
Yeah, no, it's like not at all this tragic love story. They just all died.
They just immediately.
Yeah, no one really knew, and all of a sudden
is that the one where you go and see the remains, and there's just a dude who's just jerking it?
Didn't see that one.
I'm pretty sure there's just one remain of like a dude who's just like furiously like.
I missed that one.
That was Kit Harington. Did you?
I did. Yeah. I
so good movie, worth watching.
The sexual part of that tour. It was all about culture and ancient Roman ports and no, bad movie. But peak Kit Harington. I'll tell you that he was never a bigger heartthrob than when he filmed this movie.
I like Kit Harington. I think he's.
I do too, but it was like peak. It was like his heartthrob movie. Like I know that this is not about my acting.
So do you think
this is about my muscles, my hair, and my good looks?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
do you think he's more multi-dimensional than Game of Thrones paints him?
I don't know that. I think he's definitely more multi-dimensional than his roles out after Game of Thrones have painted him.
Well, he's done the ones in
between.
Stuff.
He has. I guess I think he's funnier.
Okay.
Than Game of Thrones paints him. Okay. And he's kind of tapped into that a bit in a couple things, but I think there's more to.
I tell you who I don't like. Richard Madden.
You don't like him?
outside of Game of Thrones.
I think he's good.
Can't quite get behind him. Like bad in the Eternals. He did that at the Bodyguard
Well, the
show.
Eternals was like it's like they didn't give him much. Bodyguard was good.
Everyone loved that Bodyguard show, and it was average. It was fine.
I liked it.
I don't know why.
I definitely didn't
I don't
think
know why that went on for so long.
I didn't think he was bad. If anything, it was just kind of like BBC soapy.
Yeah,
at
but
times.
Everyone says it's like the best thing since sliced bread, and it's just bread.
That was good. It was.
Not quite sliced.
It's definitely good for Netflix.
What do you think they did with bread before it got sliced? Do you think it was just like in
loaves?
Just the whole loaf, just lopped down,
it off like
just
I do
tore
when
it.
I go to
Do you
Italy.
think they just tore bits of bread off,
dip it in the olive oil, and I just eat like 3 of them
all at once?
And then you eat 10 kilos heavier.
I just had like a mental image of you in like a cartoon where they just push the whole loaf of bread into their mouth.
Yeah, bro, burritos and bread. Yeah.
The burrito king is back. Hey, I've been up to a cool thing this week. You might like this.
What'd you do?
One of the many new Netflix series. It's I think it's a DC comic.
Not a thing.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's a DC comic. It is called. You might have seen it. It's called Sandman. Now it's a show.
Shaking my head that I have it on my list.
It's on your list. Okay, so it's an 87% of Rotten Tomatoes. It is based on, well, I'm going to call it a seminal, pretty classic graphic novel from 89 to 93, which I actually wrote 1889 to 1993, which is a bit confusing. It's not.
It's a long-running comic.
It was a long-running comic.
Up there with Spider-Man and Batman. They're great.
My days. It was not quite that long-running, but it was like I say, seminal comic. It's really, I like it. It's super fucking emo. Like you can tell it's of its time. Like you can, they've very clearly tried to keep it very similar to the actual graphic novels themselves.
Is his heart in Ohio?
No, not quite.
Okay.
But he's certainly got the fringe.
All right. Just making sure.
Nah, not quite.
I've heard that can be a problem.
It's good. It's. I wrote here. It feels like Twilight with a facelift, but I don't think that's right.
Yuck!
I'm not
gonna watch it now.
No, I watched like 3 episodes last night, and I was like, no, this is actually getting juicy.
I've heard it's better. Well, it sounds like really heady and like symbolist, like mythological,
super heady,
and like lots of symbols and allegory, and
the main
he's
character,
like the personification of dreams,
isn't he? Is the master of dreams. So he controls the land of dreams, whereby you go when you go to sleep.
Nerd.
Well, yeah, but like it's so I like it. It's fun.
It sounds cool.
He is
a
bit of a nerd.
I'm also a nerd. I would appreciate his.
You're a geek. It was it's good. I'm enjoying it a lot. I think I'm 6 or 7 episodes in now, but it's sort of like based around the other almost immortal beings, like his siblings. Like there's death, there's dreams, there's I think it's passion, something like that. I think you'd really like it. It's real fun. It's got it is a little bit, like I say, of its time. I feel they haven't done a great job of updating some of the characters and their portrayals on screen. Well, mainly the main one. The rest are pretty good. Like Death, for example, is pretty fun. That's a weird thing to say out loud. The character who portrays Death is it's pretty fun.
Love me some Death.
It's good. You like it. I think you should give it a go. What else have you been up to?
I continue to watch Deadwood. I continue to be impressed with Ian McShane's freaking phenomenal acting. And
he's great.
And I just wonder what else he's in.
Super underutilized in Game of Thrones.
Well, yeah, he was there for an episode.
Did you see?
He described it as isn't that the show where they fuck dragons?
They fuck
something
dragons
like that.
Did you see?
I was like, man, this guy doesn't care. He's a big ass.
What's it called? Did you see American Gods ever?
No, but you did tell me to watch that.
The first season,
Amazon, right?
First season watch. Second season's not bad. I don't think I've seen the third season, but it got cancelled, so it can't be that good.
I can't really start something that's been canceled. There's too many things going on.
First season's good though.
But I guess my point is, what else is he in? Is he in that? Is that what you brought it up?
American Gods. He's like the second main character.
Surely there's like other things. He's such a good actor. He
he
kind of feels like the guy that would be in a bunch of stuff.
I feel like he's a BBC guy, one of those who's like around British TV for a long time. Quite thespian.
Quite a thespian.
He does well.
No, that's pretty much all I've done. I didn't do much watching this week beyond the main topic.
We watched a couple of movies. I'll give you a couple of things we watched. It was so after we recorded our last podcast.
Yes.
It was mine and then the girlfriend's Novito weekends. So we managed to somehow get them in very close together. We watched her. Do you want hers or mine first? Which do you prefer?
I guess hers.
You want to go for hers?
She's more interesting.
Not
Give me the
terrible.
best first.
It was all right. We watched the first Top Gun, 1987. I think.
Yeah.
It was good. Like I enjoyed it. Didn't realize how less attractive Tom Cruise was back then. He's like full unibrow. He's a bit like dorky looking. Like it's really interesting.
He's really young in that.
He is super.
I think
young.
he's just like, when you can still be good looking, but like too young for your looks.
Oh,
like,
maybe, yeah.
I don't know what I mean. I know what you mean though. It's almost like he hasn't grown into his jawline yet.
Yes,
his face
and
doesn't
he does have
it's
like
too,
a great
like,
charisma.
It's too like jagged.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's so small. He's like an Easter Island head.
Yeah, I mean, he's the same in The Outsiders. He's super young in that.
I've never seen that.
And yeah.
Well, that was fun. I
It's
tell
a
you
good
what.
book as well.
One thing I'd completely forgotten about that is, and the new movie that we talked about, plug for our pod on Top Gun Maverick, is the banter between Goose and Maverick is absolute fire. They're just constantly nattering away each other. It's like you don't get it that much in films, I don't think. Like they're just constantly back and forth, and like with people.
It's like Entourage.
That's way better than Entourage.
Entourage had great banter. It does.
Did it? It's all stoner banter.
No, only Turtle.
Yeah, all of them. It's all stoner banter. That's
I,
probably why
I take offense to that.
Probably why you enjoyed it.
It's all bro chat.
It is a bit of bro chat.
But like, so is like the Top Gun pilots are bro chatting
just,
now too. They
it's
literally
them all
play
making
volleyball
fun of everyone else. It's good, man. And anyway,
it's literally Entourage. I
was going to say guess what the thing I watched was, but in the like the plethora of movies of across time, are you really going to guess what my choice was? I chose to watch again another quite seminal movie. It was Escape from New York from 1981 with Kurt Russell. It was directed by John Carpenter, who of course did The Thing. Really well known, really well respected. I think we should do a pod on it at some point because it's one of those 80s movies. And I want to know if you think it holds up as a movie or it's just... You think it holds up as a good movie or it's just a good 80s movie?
There's literally like yet to be an 80s movie you've made me watch where I was like, it holds up. So I've
only made you watch crap
foreshadowing.
I've only made you watch crap ones. This is really well
other than like The Thing.
I like the storyline for it. It was real interesting. And the characterization done by Kurt Russell was just phenomenal.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, he is. Overall, though, very 80s. Like, very, very, very 80s. Anything else? Any last bits you've watched?
Dude, honestly, I'm scraping at straws for you here. I should have saved some from last week because I watched
you told me everything
on the
last
plane.
week. We spent like 15 minutes
talking about it. We can talk about Umbrella Academy again. You haven't watched any more of it, right?
Nah, we'll come back to that. Let's talk. We might even do an episode on it at some point. In fact, that's too hard. We'll just talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, what we do now is when we've run out of things to talk about, we talk a little bit about the news in our hemispheres, what we've seen, what we think might be interesting to each other. And this week, DL, I've brought you a few pieces, and you can tell me where you want to start. So if we have a little bit of MCU news, some potential...
Is there ever a day where the MCU just is silent?
No, but I like to bring it just to keep it keep it relevant. Potential renewals of various properties. There's some Idris Elba news. There is some video game news. 2 pieces of video game news, actually. You tell me where you'd like to start.
I think I know the Idris Elba news, so I'm going to guess.
Go.
He wants to see the story of how what's his name?
Bloodspot took on Spider-Man. Yeah.
Took on Superman.
Superman.
Yeah.
Who did I say? Spider-Man. That's the wrong man.
Yeah, how he shot him or something.
Maybe he did shoot Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Maybe they crossed universes.
Which I did see that, and I was like, yeah, that'd be an interesting story. But I read it as like he wants to hear the story, but I didn't know if that meant like he wanted to literally like film the story, or just wanted to have him tell it.
that he'd like it told, which I would think would be interesting. Yeah. Like he's just like, it's the whole Batman versus Superman thing again. It's like, how does he make any headway against this immortal, not really immortal, but this like significantly more powerful being?
Yeah, I wonder how they do that. I kind of feel like it needs to be a punchline as opposed to like a whole movie about him hunting. You know what I mean?
If it was like James Gunn, you reckon it would be?
Yeah, I'd think that
Bring James Gunn back.
It would have to be. It's all he ever does. It's like a big punchline.
Well, he's given up on he's given up. He's walking away from the Guardians of the Galaxy now. He's done his trilogy. He's happy. Do you wonder if he'll start doing some more weird stuff again?
What was he doing before?
He was doing weird, like almost horror movies, grindhouse movies.
Maybe there's a market for that, man.
I think there is.
I think really a good horror movie.
He's big now. I hope he doesn't go the Taika Waititi route and get a bit big for his boots and just like. I feel like the whole You know, when he kind of got kicked out of Marvel for having those tweets a few years ago, I feel that kind of put him in his place a little bit, showing him that he wasn't untouchable. And I think he's just learned from that.
Because he's like the only one that's come back from that ever.
I know.
So I don't know if it did.
I know.
I think he's probably like, I'm actually a god. No, that's. I'd
like to see that movie.
Be cool to watch. What's the other one for Marvel?
You want the Marvel news first? All right. So rumors abound. Rumors ahoy, DL. Ahoy.
Ahoy.
Ahoy, hoy.
You need to stop right now.
No, it's a new catchphrase.
You need to just take that one out of the vocab.
Potential returning properties. So this last week, there were 2 sort of semi-leaks drops. So Patton Oswalt, who was in the... You know Patton Oswalt? Do you know who he is? He's in a bunch of stuff. He was in the end of the Eternals. He was basically the post-credit scene. Now, he kind of semi-accidentally announced that the Eternals 2 had been greenlit and was in the works with Chloe Zhao again. So that could be interesting. They did say there's going to be some... They did trademark a celestial movie title for like later phases. So who knows? Maybe they're changing the focus.
It's kind of shocking to have her direct again.
I don't know. I don't think it's shocking. She's a good director.
Yeah, but that was a bad movie.
It was a bad movie, but was that all her?
But like, I'm surprised that she's doing it.
I think I remember talking about the Eternals, and I think I remember saying that I really enjoyed it at the time.
Well,
so we've got
the audit trail.
We do.
As my boss pointed out, wow, you've been doing this for 75 episodes. I was like, yeah, actually. I was like, that's a lot of material.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of
material for your boss to bring around to you.
But
I've got a lot of outtakes as well. I can just start sliding them in.
Yeah, please do. Just like what is it when like the old records you play them backwards? There'd be like,
amazing.
Get some of that in there.
Devil worship stuff in there as well. Yeah, that'll be you. I'll just tell them.
Subliminal messaging.
Just put it on like 0.25% speed, and it'll be like, Dre hates his boss.
Stop it now. Inception.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dre doesn't hate his boss.
What were we talking? Yeah, disclaimer. What were we talking about just now?
Oh, so the other piece of MCU news is that. So we had an odd, bizarre social media post this week from director Mohammed Diab and Oscar Isaac. Now, they were apparently in Cairo together. Now, what do we know with Oscar Isaac in the MCU that happened in Cairo? Moon Knight. And there's a lot of swirling rumors that they're already there, either directing or getting in character for season 2. That was supposed to be one and done, right?
That'd be cool. Yeah, I'm down.
I'm down for season 2.
Best thing that's one of the best things that's come out in a while.
Certainly up there.
For them. Yeah, for that cinematic.
I'd be down to see that. I think there could be a crossover upcoming, like you say. There's a Midnight Suns video game that's coming out, and I could imagine that happening in the MCU with, it's sort of like the darker side, so like magic-y, so like your Doctor Stranges, your Moon Knights, your Ghost Riders, those sort of characters.
Well, they're kind of, all the new ones are in that vein.
And you could even chuck in that Kit Harington who you were just talking about.
Yeah, it's all in that. That's my point. It's all very mythological and yeah.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'm still. Do you think that they just paid Zhao a lot for the Eternals? Is that just what it is?
She'll probably got paid a decent amount.
Is that why she's doing it? Because like she has so much artistic integrity to be like hampered by such.
Oh, so much integrity.
She does though. Her other movies are very like character, like minimalist.
I reckon she wanted to try a hand at something different.
Yeah, but it like failed terribly.
Yeah, maybe she wants to write the record.
All right,
record scratch.
I just don't know if she's got it in her.
All right, do you have any news?
I do have a bit of news. Did you hear? Batgirl's got beef.
Batgirl
has got beef.
Talk to me.
Apparently they canceled Batgirl.
They did.
Shocker.
We didn't talk about this a little while ago.
Shocker, right?
They made it an HBO like direct streaming, and then they've just canceled it, like with a bunch of other stuff.
They didn't even put it on the streaming.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's a finished movie. It's in the bag.
Apparently, I'm sure there's some touch ups.
Yeah, they'll still be finishing CGI, but like. Why? That's an expensive movie.
Because, well, the real reason I think is like a tax thing. It's like if they don't release it, they can claim it as a loss.
Oh, interesting.
But
this is why it helps to have a proper nerd on the program, not just a geek.
You mean an intelligent?
No,
financier.
Finance nerd.
Yeah. None of these things matter to an imbecile like WB Discovery CEO David Zaslav.
Oh yeah.
The actress said.
Well, we
his
did
cowardice
talk.
is breathtaking, I am
Yeah.
glad I got to participate, and I wish the best to all those involved except the suits at Warner Brothers because they all get replaced sooner or later. Those are fighting words, bro.
Burn.
Those are like burning bridges. I don't think I've ever said something that ruthless to anyone.
I think you might have done.
In the career.
In a career sense.
In like the career sense.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like you like it's a small world, you know, like there's not that many.
Yeah, shit comes around as well.
There's not that many studios.
What goes around comes around.
As
Oh, yeah, and they're getting smaller by the day.
As Vinny learned in Aquaman 2.
He did.
Yeah.
Wait, is that from an Entourage reference again?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my god.
I'm just gonna force this on you.
Yeah, please. No, I liked Entourage to begin with. I don't anymore. That's interesting because last week, if you remember, we talked about DC Warner Brothers having a plan for DC to, let's say, pull back on some of their projects, aka cancel a bunch.
Yes.
And then move forward with this 10-year plan that's going to be not dissimilar to how Marvel do things. And that's really interesting as well, that's one of the first casualties.
Yeah. No, it feels like it's not all that surprising to me.
I mean, I don't know much about the movies, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I've seen stills.
Batgirl? I didn't even know she was a thing.
Oh, yeah, she's a thing.
Okay.
She'd be around.
I'm not trying to be like, I just didn't even see like a cartoon.
She'd be around.
She'd
be there.
She'd be around.
Do you want to hear some video game news, DL?
Yeah, please give it to me.
Which one do you want first?
I don't know, Tom. The second one.
Okay, the second one. Good. Well, sad news then. Hogwarts: A Legacy, did you hear this week, has apparently been pushed until beginning of next year. So it's been moved from around a November release date to February 23.
Honestly, good.
Which is sad.
I want it to be good.
I want it to be good too.
Really good. I want it to be ready. I'm down.
I would rather have had it for Christmas. Like, it was supposed to be a holiday.
Yeah, but like if it means the game is like good.
It looks pretty dope, man. Like, I'm excited. I was writing a list of games that I kind of want to play over the next few months the other day. And there's some sick games coming out. Did you know that?
What are they? Keep telling me.
I can't remember.
Keep talking.
I need to find my list. Video games. Here you go. So these are all classic me, like RPGs, right?
Yeah.
So there is one called Lost Soul Aside, which you may or may not have heard of. I'm pumped for that one. So that's a proper Final Fantasy style RPG, saying it again. But it was originally started back in 2016 by a single developer on his own, and the graphics are so unbelievable. It got picked up by Sony. Sony pumped like a bunch of money into it, and since then it's become a much bigger production. The game design's blown out, so it's a much bigger game. That's one to keep your eye on. There's one coming out soon called Forspoken, which again,
I feel like I have heard of that one.
you will have done. I've probably talked about it before. It looks like a fun RPG. And Gotham Knights. You know
I do know that one.
Four player. That's the wrong way of looking at it. The Batman. The game set in the Batman universe where you can play as all of the different Robin/Batgirl types. Batgirl's in that game. We've talked about this.
I know, but that was again the first time that I knew.
Remember hearing about
of Batgirl.
All right, final bit of news then.
Actually, that's not true. Plug to our episode where Batgirl's a thing in the George Clooney's Batman.
She is.
And
We've talked about that.
And it's kind of weird though.
Wait, is that one of our bonus episodes for?
It might be.
For the homies only.
Where can they find them?
I think they might be on YouTube now. They haven't actually moved to YouTube yet. They
eventually
will.
You can find them on YouTube.
They'll move soon. They will move soon enough. Look, final bit of news before we move on then. We've been rambling for too long.
All right.
There apparently, according to rumors, is an Iron Man game in the works over at EA. Now, I don't know if you've ever played any game like Destiny or any of those types of games where you sort of like flying, your jetpacks on, and you like around. It's easy to do. Around. That's an adjective, right? That's a verb.
That's a Bungie game.
Yes.
Destiny? No, I never played it, but it looked cool.
Look, plenty of games have proved this can be done. Not the Marvel Avengers game, but plenty of other games have proved you can do an Iron Man game well. And if you just have a good story behind it as well, this could be awesome.
Yeah.
It's a shame it's EA. If they pushed it to maybe... Who are the guys who are in the Spider-Man games?
Square Enix?
No.
Insomniac?
Insomniac. Maybe give it to Insomniac. Although they are making a Wolverine game.
I don't know, but... Yeah, EA sucks. So you're spot on there. It is a shame.
EA does.
They
it's
like
gonna be filled with
everything
microtransactions. Do you want to shoot your phaser?
Yeah.
Pay us $10.
It's also just like not quality games.
Look, if you guys have heard any cool news this week, hit us up at Podcast Assemble or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know. Tag us. Hit us up. We love it when you do. We'd love to bring news from listeners of the pod to the show.
That's true. I did have a bit of random news to close it out, even
Go.
though you just did that whole spiel. Did you see that there was a 656 feet from top to bottom sinkhole that opened up randomly in Chile? You go look at a picture of it.
It's perfectly circular.
Very much like Outer Range.
I never watched it yet.
Plug to our... Actually, we didn't do a podcast on it.
We
Plug
haven't.
to me talking about it.
You've talked about it like twice.
It's a very good show. Another, but now let me soiree into the connection. Another Western sci-fi, which I think, if we talk about our main topic, could be described as that. Would you agree with that?
I'm going to go with it's tenuous, but okay, let's do it.
Tenuous at best?
Yeah, at best.
No, I think it is. It's a Western sci-fi thriller. I'm going to introduce the main topic today.
Yeah, well, do you want to preface the main topic, DL?
Nope.
Simple yet effective.
Yes, it is.
I appreciate that a lot.
Adds up.
But do you actually want to?
Nope, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, we are talking about the 2022 new movie Nope by Jordan Peele. We will be doing non-spoilers and spoilers. I always get it the wrong way around. And what we do is we like to do a stupid plot summary. What that means is we learned very, very early on that we are bad at condensing movies and, well, more TV shows than movies down to their bare essentials. So what we try and do is do it in the most stupid way possible. DL, do you have a stupid plot summary?
I do. It's a bit lazy. But my dumb summary is Jordan Peele, in his third filmmaking effort,
Thanks, I appreciate
goes
that.
3 sheets to the wind in his first ever big budget sci-fi.
All right. That's it's not up to your normal standards. I'm a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, it's a little bit too
I'm a little bit
normal.
disappointed. Yeah, it's
But
almost like an actual plot summary.
But the 3 sheets to the wind.
Yeah, I mean,
There's something there.
Close to spoilers. You tried.
There's something there.
It's more like 12 sheets to the wind, but all right, whatever.
Well, yeah.
All right.
Third effort, 3 sheets. I don't know.
Here you go.
Hmm.
A family business is terrorized by an unthinking, unfeeling menace. And no, I am not talking about Ezra Miller. The first ever thriller to contain believable characters as human and break the trope, the black dude dies first.
I guess that is fair.
Yeah.
Minus the fact that there's never been human characters in a thriller before.
What do you mean?
There's plenty of thriller.
No, I mean believable as human. They're like, you ever watch a thriller, they're always like, why don't I just go outside?
You're mistaking thriller for horror.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway.
they cross over pretty heavily. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess for me then the IMDb score for this at present?
7.6.
Ooh, so close. It's 7.4.
Okay.
What about the Rotten Tomatoes?
That'd be higher. Be like 82.
Bang on the money!
Yes?
Bang, bing, 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 bing. We got a winner. You love a 2 as well.
I always
love a 2.
A blind squirrel finds a nut.
Yeah, it's so fun.
You know,
well, you have to get one.
sometimes.
You have to get one
I
eventually.
just if I keep going 82 eventually.
Yes. All right. And what about the Metacritic score?
It's 69.
Oh, not bad. Not the golden hour this week. It is 77.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought bloody good score, especially for Metacritic.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm surprised.
They love him. I mean, like the critics do love him. I think this
Yeah.
is a good movie, but it's not as good as Get Out.
Well,
Just
interesting you say
yeah.
that. Jordan Peele, of course, did Get Out. He did Us. Have you seen
Yeah.
Us?
I did, and I enjoyed it, but also I think this might be better than that.
Okay, I haven't seen Us, but I hear it's good.
People love that one. I just didn't like it as much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this stars regular collaborator Daniel Kaluuya. It has Keke Palmer. It has Brendan Pereira, who I really like in this.
Yeah, you
There's
can say
Angel
his name
Torres.
well.
Pereira. It's got Michael Wincott, who plays that director dude. It's got Stephen Yeun, and it has Keith David. Now, I'm going to spoil a little bit of my later on conversation here, but he himself, did you notice this, is the voice of the president in Rick and Morty? Did you notice that?
Keith David is.
Yeah, so that's their dad. That's
Yes,
Otis
yes,
Hayward
I did.
Sr.
I didn't notice that, but now that you say it, I know it's.
Yeah,
so.
immediately. The second his voice came out, I was like, oh my god.
And to be honest, like,
taken out of
if
this
you asked
completely.
me to like think about who his voice was, if I was just watching Rick and
Yeah.
Morty, I would have been able to figure it out. I wouldn't have said his name, but I'd be like, I know exactly the guy's face. That guy. He's in
Exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
you know?
It is. It absolutely is. Well, what we like to do now is before we jump into discussing the movies, we like to talk a little bit about goofy IMDb pictures. Now, what this is sometimes when we're flicking through IMDb, we see pictures and say, You should have a fucking publicist. You should be better than this. Why is this your IMDb picture?
It's a shocking choice.
There are some bad choices. Now, our current MVP, as of last week, just won one, is the one and only Channing Tatum, who is uncredited passenger on train from the movie Bullet Train.
Yeah.
And do you want to explain that image super quick?
I mean, he looks like he's on something.
It's a really awkward image.
And he's also like squinting at
he's kind of halfway through an interview.
Yeah, he's you know when like you stop on a frame?
Yeah.
Like
you pause the video.
And like you just catch someone in a tough spot. That's what this picture is.
It's real not good. He needs his PR agent to jump in here. Now, today's challenger, coming in as Flynn Backman. This is Oz Perkins. The opponent. Do you want to explain this IMDb picture? It's real goofy this week.
It's a selfie.
Yeah, it is.
And the guy's definitely got an interesting mustache.
Oh, it's not a good mustache.
And it looks like he's in a garage with his thumb just up.
I think he's
it's not like that funny. It's just kind of a weird thing that it's like something I would send my mate, being like, "Yep, I'm getting the beer."
It looks like he's is at brunch and he's waiting for his mates to arrive.
And he's like sitting here waiting, like
yeah, exactly.
Like it's just a weird But like he's literally, it looks like he's in a garage because there's like a garage door over him.
It's a weird image, isn't it, to have your IMDb picture?
I guess like some people, maybe they don't know. This makes me think they don't know.
Maybe they don't. Yeah. I could imagine
because
Channing
this
Tatum
is so random.
Knowing.
Maybe someone just Googled his name, was like, well, this is the only one we got.
Look, I can imagine Channing Tatum not knowing, but this guy surely, like, he's not credited highly enough in this movie to have he should have a proper picture.
Nah, yeah, fair enough.
All right, so what we do now is you're going to tell me which do you think is better? Which do you think is goofier?
I think that they're both pretty weak compared to some of our historical ones, to be honest.
It's very true. You did choose Channing Tatum.
I did because of the audacity of being that famous and having that picture. But
that's fair.
I think I'm gonna keep Channing.
Keep Channing on the go.
Yeah,
all right. I like that. That's a good shout. Excellent. Well, he can be our MVP for the next week. We will also put it on social media. I think we've forgotten the last couple of weeks. We will put it on our social media so you guys can
do a poll,
vote for us, and tell us what you think is the goofier of the IMDb pictures.
Yeah.
Talking about this movie, DL.
I mean, like there was a lot of I guess speculation upon like the first couple trailers, or the first trailer really, or the first image about what it was going to be about, and a lot of people speculated, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it's not supernatural. Well, we've already kind of said it, right? The sci-fi stuff,
right?
So it's not a spoiler to say it's a sci-fi, and that there's kind of an alien involved, and it's in the trailers, and so
alien in the trailers.
It is at a point. It shows a UFO. So like at first there was a bunch of speculation on what it would be, and then the second trailer came out, and you saw a bit of it. So really, it's what I would call a sci-fi thriller western. After their family patriarch's unexpected and inexplicable death.
Yes.
Basically we follow OJ and Emerald Hayward.
Rick and Morty president dies.
Yes, he does. In an odd way.
Yes.
As this brother and sister attempt to save the family's struggling horse Hollywood training business.
Kinda.
All the while,
it's a ranch.
They investigate mysterious phenomenon on their inherited ranch.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty just non-spoiler.
It's like a good odd couple movie where they've got to kind of learn to work and live together as brother and sister, right?
And look out for each other.
Yeah. I like it. The unusual occurrences that start happening around them, they sort of like escalate as the movie goes on, and they start with the death of, like you say, Otis Sr. by like a seemingly random falling object. What was it? It's like a coin?
Yeah, it was like a nickel.
Yeah,
it's a key.
Super interesting. Look, I'm going to be...
Which is an increase... It's a really... Actually, not how the film starts. That's like the second scene.
Oh, what's the first scene?
The film starts with the ape.
The chimpanzee.
The chimpanzee on a set with no context. You just see like half a body, kind of blood. The tension this builds, by the way, is real. Like it starts with this like bloody body on a set of like an old sitcom where you can obviously see a chimpanzee's gone crazy and killed a bunch of people on the set.
Random subplot that's there for some reason.
And you hear someone breathing heavily, so you like kind of like scared, like they're obviously hiding.
Now we're going to touch on that a little bit more as we go through. But that, for me, that entire subplot was really just so out there, and it seems so tangential and just non-related to the broader story. Like, I had to watch like 3 YouTube videos to be like, oh yeah, I get why that's important, why that was interesting and important. It didn't. I think to your average
jump out at you. No,
to your average viewer, it's interesting, but it doesn't help the story. It's just
I think it's a sign of a broader issue with this film where like that subplot didn't really tie into the character development of the 2 main characters you spend the most time with.
Sure.
And it's such a deliberate thing you inserted that you would think it would tie into kind of a message that related to their arc.
Yeah, and
which it didn't really. It only kind of related to like a side character's arc and some of the major themes. But
yeah, hey, look, we're gonna dive more into that. Let's talk about a few bits of this movie then. So like the first note I wrote for this, and actually one of the things I said to you as we left cinema was, I feel like this is the modern era's version of Jaws. Like, and I can't think of higher praise.
It was a great way to put it as well. It's pretty accurate.
Masterclass in tension building. Like, it's great. It's phenomenal. It's like, it's methodical. Sometimes to its detriment a little bit. But like, it's slow at times, but it really sort of captures that life on a ranch sort of Western, really Western. Yeah, it's good
in sci-fi.
It's super.
That's
interesting.
a thriller.
It's your like ideal movie. No, it's real good.
It starts slow, but I really like it. It was an enjoyable movie through and through. It was like long, but not too long.
Yeah, like the thriller sort of mystery elements unfold in a satisfying way. I'd say. Yeah. Like it's developed slowly, but intently.
Yes,
intentionally.
It is developed slowly, and I kind of felt like. I'll save that for some of the 3 best, 3 worst section that we were known for. But overall, like most of the nitpicking I would do, it's like overall it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
And it just like goes to show like we judge like really like directors like him. It's unfair because like every one of his movies that I've watched are
infinitely better than the shit
like
we
they're
watch.
really, really good. And like if it was just in isolation, I'd be like, whoa, that's a weird movie. Like that's a really good movie. But because I'm comparing it to like the last one and like his prior work, he kind of gets a bad rap. He has a tough time there. Yeah, because Get Out was so good.
Oh, so good, amazing. And I feel like he's got that thing that the MCU now suffers from, which is the height of expectation. Maybe not MCU. Maybe that's a bad reference point. Maybe someone like Shyamalan. Shyamalan's first movie was so fucking good. Everyone was like,
Shyamalan's a great comparison.
He is, but I think.
And it's a similar style thing. It's kind of like a horror-y twist movie.
Yeah,
like, there's a big twist.
But I think Jordan Peele's captured that lightning in a bottle, that magic, significantly better than Shyamalan ever did. Like, he did like 2 good movies maybe, and then it all just went to shit. It was like, what
I also
are we
think
watching?
Jordan Peele's got more things to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
That are like subtly done and well done.
Yeah, and the diversity in his movies is just phenomenal. Like I love what he's doing. I saw a quote by him saying something along the lines of, like, he doesn't cast white actors because he doesn't have the same things to effectively. Like, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but like the things he's saying, that's not their culture; it's his type thing. I'm like, I find that really interesting.
Yeah, I found it interesting that like not only does he not cast like white actors, like he's giving, and this is just obviously, I imagine it's part of his modus operandi, like he is trying to get more people of color more exposed, which is totally awesome.
Good. It's interesting that there's statements within statements within statements. We're incepting statements over here.
Yeah.
So the story of this movie effectively, as DL mentioned, revolves around OJ Hayward, Junior. Basically trying to keep the family business alive. He's a bit of an introvert, right? He doesn't really like attention. I kind of feel like he just enjoyed being with the horses more than he did with people. And then his sister kind of comes into his life a little bit more, and then this plot starts to evolve around how their father died and them not understanding it, and whether there was foul play involved.
And they don't really, he never really believed that, like, what they said that, like, basically that someone threw something out of an airplane.
And it was like an airplane, like, shooting out shit or something, and it was like, sure. He doesn't believe it. Sister gets involved. Sister's the polar opposite. She's like big energy. She's always late.
Yeah.
You know, she's real.
She's
like,
not committed to the business at all.
Not at all.
It's kind of a side thing for her.
Yeah. And it's a really interesting dynamic between the two of them, how they work. And it shouldn't work in many ways. Like, I know it's the odd couple thing, but like, he is introverted to the point of almost like not wanting to speak to people. He kind of grunts his way through the movie almost.
Yeah. Well, the juxtaposition of that is like
really
a
fun.
good dynamic.
Yeah. But then I like the surrounding characters. We're kind of moving into performances here. But I think Angel, I sort of mentioned before, Brandon Pereira's character, I think he's great. Like, you kind of think he's going to be this sort of comedic value kind of side character who's nothing more than just the odd laugh here and there, but like he really develops as the movie goes on. I really like it.
He adds a bit of value for sure.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like talk about like a Jordan Peele movie without like talking about the tones and themes earlier, but I was curious if he was going to make like a statement about this guy.
Okay.
Like, cause he was like, his first introduction is like, oh yeah, I was dating this like model, and
really?
And she's like,
oh,
you just got a
I
sitcom.
forgot about
He was like brokenhearted. But it didn't. At the end of the day, it didn't feel like he was. Like he was just kind of like, it was a little bit of an ode to LA, and just the odd jobs and the odd, like that's what it felt like.
Okay.
And his character kind of became his own thing. It wasn't this like motif for some theme.
Yeah,
about
I thought
Hollywood,
I
because that's
thought
what I
that too,
expected
yeah.
it was going to do.
Well, I thought he was just going to be like the comedic value, like the side character who just cracks jokes. I think he did to a degree, and I think they reeled it back in. It's sort of like there was like a cross section of like, he started off jokey, and as the movie got more serious, he slowed down his jokes. Whereas like, if you're watching 99% of movies now out there that all try and do the same thing, pick a Ryan Reynolds movie, those quips just keep coming, whereas he gets more serious as the movie goes, and I really like that. Really well developed.
And he was a good, like, I guess he was a really good way to explore the idea of like spectacle, which we'll talk about. Like the movies, it has a lot to say about spectacle, I think.
Yes, and we'll get into that.
He touches, his character was like kind of the first element of that, I think, that it introduces.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you want to then, let's just dive a bit more into performances. What did you think of, and I want to ask this specifically, the dupe character, Stephen Young's character?
I liked him a lot.
Did you?
I did. And I think what I didn't like, and we'll talk about it more, is like how what it seemed like the Jordan Peele was trying to say about him and Hollywood and maybe not Hollywood, but like humanity, didn't really apply to the main plot. It did, but it was like kind of like confined to him, as I talked about earlier.
It's interesting, and I don't think I realized this at the time while I was watching it, but his character. So all right. So one thing that's happening throughout the movie is that Daniel Kaluuya's character OJ. Let's just talk about that for a minute. The calling him OJ. That's an interesting character choice.
It is.
Realizes,
like, especially someone who's like a black filmmaker,
precisely.
you know what that's going to
precisely.
do. Like that must have been intentional.
Yeah, it must have been. There'll be a reason.
Yeah.
He realizes that there is a cloud which doesn't move, just sat on top of his land, and there's this sort of subtle plot, sort of through line around Dupe's character wanting to purchase the ranch off him, and it's sort of brought up and it's fallen away. And I didn't realize this, but there are bits in the movie when they see lights out on the ranch, like just off the ranch in the distance.
Yeah,
and it appears that must have been Dupe's character, like messing or trying to,
or just
interact. Interact with this. Gonna call it an alien? Is it an alien?
This entity,
extraterrestrial.
I think it is fair to call it
this
like an
entity.
Alien. Yeah.
So there's this subplot of him sat in the distance, watching the farm and watching this non-moving cloud throughout. And kind of the point of that is his character, it feels like it's that encroaching westernization of everything and gentrification of everything, and almost that the old west being taken over by the future, and it is this, he is just trying to get closer to whatever this cloud is in the background, and it's like I found that really interesting, and I didn't realize that at the time, so I
didn't catch that at all.
I think he's there more than you realize he is.
Oh, for sure. No, and I like his whole arc.
Yeah, okay.
I just thought we'll talk about it in a bit. But I really liked his character. I liked that guy as an actor.
Okay.
He was fun.
I think it was good. I think some of the plot beats he was into, like that one where it's sort of this abstract. You don't realize it's him, but it's clearly him encroaching on the story and trying to force his way in. Really like that. Really subtly done. But then kind of messed with the pacing a little bit. Some of the other elements of his personality. We talked about the chimpanzee story. I forgot the name of the chimp now. Yeah. But do you want to frame that kind of story a bit more, like around the chimpanzee?
So we get the still open with like the chimpanzee, like kind of like in this bloody scene that I described before. And I don't know, midway through the movie, we meet Jupe, or like maybe hour in, and we get the backstory that he was like a child star and involved with this, sitcom that blew up partially because this chimpanzee goes crazy on set and kills a bunch of people. And so he's like basically making a bunch of money off this spectacle.
Yes.
That happened.
That's
a tragedy, but was a spectacle because a bunch of people died and like some of them were like brutally disfigured. And to the point where he's got like this secret compartment, right?
In his office.
His office. And he totally like Hollywood brags about how there was this like Danish couple that like just paid him $50,000 to like sleep in there or something. Like just very, very weird Hollywood thing. So you can tell he's kind of being set up to be this like,
he's kind of the bad guy in a weird way.
Yeah, I think he's just being set up to be this representation of like kind of what's bad in Hollywood.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Or what's maybe bad in humans. I don't know. This is part of that. Yeah. And so we eventually see that he was the kid actor, the one that voice that's like kind of heavy breathing in the still. We see that it's actually him. And he's kid.
Let's stop there.
Okay.
It's sort of like what it's trying to do is it's trying to build this sort of like parallel story to help you understand his motives.
Yeah. And who he is. And
exactly. Yeah. And I think like anymore, we're going to go into spoiler territory there, DL. But
are we?
A little bit. But I liked that. And I think in hindsight, probably maybe on a second or third viewing, that would be significantly more interesting. But my question to you is, if you're not a huge Jordan Peele fan, or B, just a casual moviegoer, does that really take you out of the movie? And does it sort of like slow the pacing right down?
I think it confuses you.
Yeah.
But
not in a good way.
But I'd say you're dumb. So I don't have like.
Thanks, mate.
Can I be honest though? Like, I don't have patience for people that like watch a movie and like don't understand something and therefore don't like it. It's like, use your brain a bit.
No, my problem with
like,
it is,
if it turns you off a bit, like get over it. Like it's not everything's supposed to be easily digested.
It's not that I don't like it. It's that it slows the movie down enough that I honestly started to get a bit tired of those scenes. I was like,
there was
I don't
only
care
like
about
three
this.
of them, and they were fucking intense, dude. Actually, think back to when you were watching it. You weren't like snoring. You were like, oh my god, there's a chimpanzee about to rip someone's head off.
I don't think it added to this at the time. It added to the story, and it being a payoff at the end, I don't think was a good enough payoff.
I won't take fault with that.
So you're cool with the pacing.
I'm okay with the pacing.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. All right.
I think it might have been a bit slow to start, but the two main characters are like really, really charismatic. So I didn't mind it. Like,
sure.
I liked like I like their dynamics. I didn't mind it all that much, the slow start, but
I definitely think the chimpanzee scenes, I don't know, we should really remember what the chimpanzee was called. No, let me go back. I think that part of the movie juxtaposes nicely in terms of the world building with the ranch and where Daniel Kaluuya's OJ character lives, because it's confined, it's got the bright lights, it is a it's a TV studio, and it's got the audience there, whereas he is just like, he has all this land and the shots of these huge wide vistas, and it almost felt a bit like a Sam Mendes movie, like the guy who did Skyfall at times. It was
Skyfall.
At the Skyfall.
I still haven't seen the new Bond movie. It's on
really.
It's on Warner Bros. I gotta watch it. Or on Binge.
But it kind of had that vibe to it for me. Like, it was too bright to be a Sam Mendes movie. Yeah. Maybe it's a bit tangential, but like, it had that vibe, and it was a nice contrast in terms of how this Jupe grew up as a child. Like, this was his life as a child, and where he is now. And when you flip between the two, you're like, it's him obviously trying to process what happened as a child. It's really interesting. And I thought the cinematography was great.
It is. And that, I think his, if it was just about like him,
yeah,
it was like super well executed. and like and it says a bunch of stuff about like I think the satire that that Jordan Peele's trying to do.
Yeah.
It just didn't connect really well to what the main characters were doing.
It didn't, except until you find out that he was buying horses off them. Now that's a really
No, I mean
interesting
like
plot.
plot wise it was connected, but like
yeah.
thematically it didn't.
No. And I think that's right. We do talk a lot on this podcast about movies or TV shows trying to tie everything up in a nice bow, and it's a bit unnecessary. And I think realistically, the whole point of his character was that he was trying to encroach on this way of life that he didn't really understand. He wanted to change, he gentrify it effectively to suit his own capitalistic ends. But I like you say, I think they were so disconnected, and like he was such a peripheral character. It was just disconnected, and a bit disjointed.
I thought about it, like if we're just gonna put a bow in it, I think that because we're kind of delving into themes and stuff.
Well, then, do you want to talk a little bit? We're diving into world building, but I don't think you can talk about the world building without talking about sort of the music and the soundtrack to this, because it's really interesting. Like it's very.
I can't actually remember what was playing now.
Well, it's very like I say, it's your Jaws, it's your classic thriller horror build.
That tension stuff.
But then you get these periods where he just chucks in like "Walk On By," and I love that. I wish I could sing, but I really liked that aspect of the culture coming into it as well. It's because most of it, if you remember, was the M character, the sister Emerald, who was bringing this slice of like what we would call normal life into OJ's like secluded, quiet, and even some of it as well, like same with Angel's. Is it Angel or Angel's character bringing, like when he brings the truck around and he's installing all of the cameras around the house to try and capture, which we'll talk about in just a second, try and capture an image
of the entity.
Alien. When he drives up, there's like this blaring music coming out of his car, and at one point it's Sunglasses at Night, which I love from Stranger Things, like a classic track. And I like that building to the world. Like when it's just OJ and his dad at times, it is just pretty much silence, like just the outback on its own. Did you like that?
Yeah, it was cool. I didn't notice it that much, to be honest.
I think sort of the encroaching of the outside world, all that stuff really resonated with me when I was watching it. It was fun.
I'd agree that it's a good. It definitely makes the movie fun to watch the entire time, even when
HVC stuff.
Yeah, even when it's like, even when you're like pretty sure nothing bad's gonna happen.
Yeah,
you're kind of like, oh, what could happen? Yeah, like because and it's like anything with it. But what I do really like, and we've talked about it a bit already, is that like it relies on that tension building using the accompaniment, but like it doesn't rely on the tropes. There's very few times where you're like, why is this character doing this?
Big time.
Like, stop doing that. Like, they mostly make very logical decisions so it goes to show you can make a thriller and horror movie without those tropes.
Absolutely. And speaking of one thing, we really should preface before we do sort of get into full spoiler territory. The reason one of those tropes work, and I think this is a problem with every horror thriller, whatever movie, they aren't able to just text or call someone and say, shit, this is happening, is because whenever this entity is around,
oh, that's a good point,
all of the electricity and all of the reception for cell phones stuff,
it's a floating EMP.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is. It's a MacGuffin. It has that vibe to it, but it's great. And I really like that. But then there's also the flip side of that capturing an image of this entity that they don't know what it is yet becomes like an obsession for them, especially the sister M. She wants to get this. She wants to become rich and famous off it.
She wants to be on. She wants to get the Oprah shot.
The Oprah shot. I love that.
Thing, yeah.
It's so good. And I really liked that. That cut out some of the tropes you can go with. Like, they're not calling other people to bring in other people to help because they want the shot. Yeah. They want to get it.
Well, they don't want it to be. They also like. I think there might be a subtle jab there on just like a statement about race. Like, they don't want it to be appropriated.
Sure.
Taken.
Yeah.
Like it's their shot. They have to. They lost their dad, right?
Yeah.
Like they should get the benefit, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could be thinking too much into it, but
no. I mean, his films are so layered, man.
Yeah.
So basically, the plot of the movie is this: they are in this situation, effectively with Angel, where they're trying to get a shot of whatever this entity is. There's all these other factors trying to force their way in.
Yeah.
There's Jupe's character trying to, maybe sneak his way in to get some, which we'll talk about in spoilers, try and get some level of control in the ranch as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just really well. It builds really well to a very natural, good, I would say, sort of like crescendo.
Yeah. No, it does.
All
I
right,
enjoyed
then.
it.
We've talked a lot about this so far. We're doing our very, very best not to
It's hard
spoil it. It's
not
hard.
to with this one.
It's hard. All right, tell me then tones and or themes, my man.
Look, I think that there's quite a few because, like you just said, any Peele movie is very, very layered. I think that like there's definitely a man versus wild theme, particularly in Jupe's story.
Yep. Also with the director who they bring in, we didn't mention him before.
Yep.
Anders Holst, he's called in the movie.
Yeah, like Predator and Prey.
Yeah. Every shot of him not
yeah.
on the ranch is, other than that, when you meet him on the film set, is him watching predators fighting on old film.
Yeah,
really, really interesting.
And you could even argue that like the Hollywood chick that he's watching deal with OJ is like a predator in the Hollywood set.
Oh, yeah.
It's like just like compared to him, who's just like he's prey in that setting. You know what I
yeah,
mean? He's
absolutely.
like eyes down, you know. So like you could almost argue every scene he's in was that way.
Yeah.
The other thing I kind of point to is like human vanity and egotism, like and basically like we don't really know our own limits. I think you could point to.
Are we talking about Jupe's character?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that just like there's some kind of satire on spectacle, but I don't quite think it's fully. I think that's the one of the few things I'll criticize. I don't think it's fully baked.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he nailed it in all points. Because usually when you have like a central theme, like you want to have every character have some kind of whether it's a conflicting reflection, some kind of reflection on that theme. I just think he really, really nailed it with Jupe. He is kind of a dupe.
He is a bit duped.
I think he nailed it with Jupe. He nailed it with like the director. He nailed it pretty well with the guy you like, the little IT guy,
Angel.
Yeah, I think he kind of missed it with the main characters. They were kind of just doing their own thing. I don't know. That was my.
But I think that was
take.
I think that's kind of the point. Like that was Daniel Kaluuya's character had been brought up in that environment. He just wanted to be left alone.
Not really. They like totally like worked together anyway.
In the end, they did.
Yeah, through almost the whole time.
I think
they were only successful at the end.
Well, I feel like he ended up having to because he couldn't get rid of it on its own.
It just kind of felt like there was a statement about like a satire on our obsession with spectacle that just only applied to certain characters.
And being in over your head, that's one that I've got. Like, all of these characters, like, they all should die in this. Realistically, like I say it reverses a lot of the horror thriller horror tropes. If it really wanted to do that, just everyone would have died in this.
Yeah, or you have like some reason why they're like their arc ends differently because they were equally obsessed with the spectacle.
Absolutely.
I didn't really get
Different
the
ways.
point like that. Like he was trying to make with their. Arc.
Well, they were just as obsessed because they wanted the image. They wanted to get that shot, the Oprah shot, as we say.
I mean, everyone did.
Well, yeah, but that's the point. They closed themselves off and were trying to do it on their own when other people could have been better prepared, could have had better ideas on how to do it. Anyway. I just had the dealing with unresolved issues is on top of what you said is I mean, there's so many layers to this, but like so many unresolved issues in these movies, like every single one.
Yeah, but that's like part of the fun, huh?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. All right, then. So what we do now is we like to talk about our 3 best and 3 worst from the movie. And what this means is we give you 3 non-spoiler bits that we think are reasons to see the movie and 3 non-spoiler bits that are reasons maybe not to watch the movie. Dia, what are your 3 best?
I liked Ricky Jupe Park's like
Ricky Jupe
story. I think that was like he obviously came to the movie with like a plan for that character and saw it all the way through. And I thought that like that was well done.
It's interesting that that is kind of like you said juxtaposition a couple of times. In that he is great in this, and that storyline is really interesting, but at the same time. Kind of doesn't fit still. Like it's
there's just like one missing part, and I can't figure out what it is.
Yeah,
and I think it's like how it ties back to what everyone else's like the theme of everyone else's arc. But
yeah, okay.
The fact that he just made a horror sci-fi western and it was like a really good movie.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So like that's just like pretty unique. And then I just like the trope reversals. Like you don't need tropes to be scary. Like and even like only at one point he does say like he's about to get out of the car in a sketchy situation, and he almost
Yeah.
does, and he literally goes, "Nope."
We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, nope.
I love that.
So it's like,
absolutely.
yeah, like that was a little bit of comedic humor, but there's other moments as well where you're like, "Don't do it," and he doesn't. It's still quite freaky.
Yeah, and it's great because it's scary enough, and he doesn't need to go into that situation.
Yes.
Why the fuck would you go into that situation? It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Every horror movie, you're an idiot. No, I really like that too. So I said, the sense of foreboding, like we say, it's like Jaws for like a modern age. I can't give it high praise in that. Like it just builds the tension when you have no idea what's going on in this film. A lot of the time, I mean, you find out pretty early on, but like when you don't,
You do.
you're like,
well, it telegraphs things a bit.
yeah, in a good way. No, in a good way. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
The other ones, I like the odd couple trope with some nuance. Like they were like, you get that odd couple trope. One falls over and is an idiot, and one's the bright one. There's more layers to it. Like, like M's the outgoing, the sort of extrovert. He's an introvert, but like he's intelligent in his own way, just in a different way to how she is. Like he knows all about the land. He gets the horse. I like that. They were actually like had some layers.
You like westerns.
Love the land.
You like westerns.
I do like
You just
westerns.
Don't realize it yet.
No, you just don't give me the opportunity to ever talk about them. And I just said, I think that Angel, he added just the right amount of comedy relief. Like he was great. Like I say, he peaked and then it crossed over with how serious the movie was getting, and it made sense that it went that way.
Yeah,
Worst?
agreed. I think like the worst for me is like, and it's a bit much to call it the worst, but it feels like some of the core ideas were only partially baked.
Yeah, look, the internet's polarizing, so everything we do has to be polarized. This is the worst thing about the movie.
It's absolutely the worst. And the movie doesn't necessarily suffer for it because it's a great movie, but you just get the feeling that it's like a little bit less than the sum of its parts could have been if he nailed the landing on a couple different things. Or like just developed them a bit more, right?
Spent 5 more minutes on it.
Look, I'm not an award-winning director, but
will you ever be?
When I look at like Get Out, like there was a clear intention, and it feels like he was onto something, and he like maybe a little bit more time with a few writers would have pulled something more precise out of it. I don't know. That's my first one. Second one, I felt like I'm gonna disagree. Some bits were a bit telegraphed too early.
Okay,
like I pretty much like instantly guessed some of the, and maybe you're supposed to. But I would have liked if there was like a couple other like almost red herrings that threw me off before I figured out what they were looking for. Like as soon as the stuff flew out of the sky, I was kind of like,
you were on it.
Oh yeah, I knew what that meant.
Yeah.
Like, and it happens very early.
Fair enough.
The other one would be just the main characters' arcs and character development didn't really tie to some of the themes, which is kind of a cop out because it's kind of what I'd mean to number one, I think.
So you're repeating yourself.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent. I ran out of things. It's a good movie.
Ran out of things. Yeah, but that's good. If it's a good enough movie that you can't find 3 bad things about it, that's good.
Ran out of things.
Mine, like similar. Like I just said, it's meandering at times. I imagine a general audience could get lost by this movie. Like it is very abstract. There are times when it just goes on a tangent, especially with like my second.
I think it's intense enough though that people.
Agreed. But my second one sort of adds into this, which is the chimp subplot. Like, I get it,
chimpy.
I felt only marginally added to the story.
They're scary. Sorry, I keep cutting you
off.
Oh
yeah, terrifying.
Chimpanzees are terrifying.
Yeah, especially when they're on a film set beating the shit out of someone. And the last one was just Keith David. Now this is a joke. Like whenever he spoke, I just saw like the president from Rick and Morty.
Well, he didn't speak that much.
He did.
No.
They kept doing flashbacks to him, and I was like...
That's another theme, to be fair, was like the black erasure, because every flashback was about how no one remembered that there was the first black horse rider. And I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, actually, you're right. All right. Better or worse than Aquaman 2018? Our famous rating system. Do you want to explain it?
We rate things. No thumbs up, no thumbs down, no 5 stars, no 4 stars, no rotten cucumbers and
not a
tomatoes.
Well, it is a no par yet, really, isn't it?
It's binary.
Yeah, it is. So it is a no binary. Basically, it's this movie.
It is. Is it better or worse than the average movie?
The most average movie we can find, which is Aquaman 2018.
Yeah, you got it. You did it.
What do you reckon?
It's better for sure. I mean, it's not a hot.
It's not difficult.
Yeah,
it's not a spicy.
This is a very long intro to say it's better.
Yeah, I mean,
easily done.
I'm fine with that. I would give it 3 nopes out of 3. No, it's way better than Aquaman 2018. Like it's a different movie to be perfectly honest, and like I don't think it needed the action from a big blockbuster. Like the tension was all there.
It was only 60 million, right?
Yeah, it was cheap.
More than his other movies, but not full Marvel blockbuster.
No.
Definitely not Netflix.
I think like a Jaws as well. Like it
Yeah.
held you at arm's length from what this entity was long enough. I mean, it hinted at it, but it didn't fully explain it. It didn't fully give you all the pieces of the puzzle till right at the end when, you know, Jaws bursts out the water and you're going to need a bigger boat.
Yep.
I think it was great. All right, spoilers?
Spoilers, man.
Spoilers, baby!
What are the things that we want to talk to when we can without spoilers? I think just so it's like, let's just start off. It's an alien of some kind.
But it's not a spaceship.
No, it's like an animal.
It is literally an organic creature.
Yeah, it's like a predator.
Yeah, and so the point is, it's nice that it harkens back to like one of the very first scenes where the dad gets killed by a what was it you say? It was a nickel.
Yeah.
The point is, it is literally eating organic matter, people, horses,
and there's
whatever.
Things that it doesn't like,
and the things that it can't digest. So anything that's non-organic, keys, wallets, nickels, all that stuff gets like spit out, and that's how the father dies. And it's really interesting that it gives you those like little breadcrumbs at the beginning of the movie, and you're like, no.
So now that we can talk about it, like you don't really see it all that much until like halfway through, I'd say.
No,
maybe even, but you hear it though.
You do.
We haven't talked about this at all.
You see glimpses of it flying into
like
the
very,
sky.
very like quick little glimpses. Not well enough to know if it's even an animal yet.
Or a spaceship.
Yeah.
You think it's a flying saucer. Effectively, it points you in the direction it's going to be a flying saucer.
It's a misdirection. Yeah. But there's a couple, like, people comment, like, it didn't move like a ship. Like, it moved like an animal.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, there's a lot of, like, hints like that. And then, like, there's just these sounds it makes, which are, like, at first, like, these weird horse sounds, because it's, like, that's the most recent thing it ate. And it, like, mimics the things that it's just eaten. And, like, you hear them in this, where do they go? I don't know, this vortex into another dimension. What I will say about the alien, and they didn't go too hard into the sci-fi backstory stuff, but it looks like something that would be able to just like travel through time. The way it's like made. Like, you know how like whenever you hear about other dimensions, like not time, sorry, dimensions. Where like you think about patterns and like them folding upon folding them, like folding within themselves, like the design kind of harkens to that, like that interstellar room where there's like all, you know what I mean?
I can see that. I found the whole organic matter thing very, very just interesting overall, that he went this route of everyone thinks flying, like it's another trope reversal. Everyone thinks flying saucers.
No, it was a red herring for sure.
Things from other planets that, you know, zoom around, and I mean it does like suck people up, you know, like beam me up, Scotty, but it does it to eat them, not probe them. I really like that.
And it's also like nothing's driving it. Like we create these images of aliens, like they're like us. Like it could just be a freaking creature that's out there that's just survived to doing this.
And it's and that's what everyone is effectively trying to get in this movie. So everyone from M and OJ, they're trying to get images of it to sell. Jupe is trying to get it as part of his attraction. You don't know this, but he's been buying the horses off OJ,
feeding them
to feed the fucking alien. She called it an alien, right?
Yeah.
To feed the alien, so he thinks he's taming it to have part of his attraction. And there's a phenomenal scene where he effectively tries to bring the alien to his crowd. He gets a crowd of people in to show them his new attraction. And instead of, you know, going for the horse, which he thinks it's what's eating it, the horse is in a glass box. So it just goes and eats all the fucking people there. It's incredible. It's so interesting.
It is. And then that's when you're like, oh, shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah, big time.
It's like kind of near the climax of the movie.
And that led into one of my actual favorite scenes of the movie, which was, and I guess if you saw it out of context, it would be very confusing. But when the monster is effectively, call it a monster, it is the alien, is like
the predator.
Yeah, let's call it the predator. It's sort of like getting rid of everything it can't digest, but because it thinks that M's in the house, it's all this blood and guts is all coming down onto the house, and all the bits of shrapnel, are pinging off, and the house just goes from white to red, and it's such an interesting image.
Because it didn't they imply that like they pissed it off by giving it like a fake horse before?
Yeah.
And so this was like its way of getting back at them.
So interesting. So good.
Yeah, it really was.
The imagery of that's just like real, and like she was like cowering in her own house. It was like some sort of natural disaster movie.
No, that was like a really cool sequence.
Yeah,
and like she's separate. They're separated from OJ at that point, and they can't communicate. And so like he's trying to get them out of there, but he's also like, and there's a whole element of like this is where I'm like, I wish they did more with it to tie it back to something.
Sure.
Where it's like he was in touch with nature, and understood it as a predator, and could like avoid its eyes because he'd like been trained with horses, and that was like as far as they took it. So there's that side of OJ and the horses.
Yeah, and then explain the crescendo of the.
And then
there's
the crescendo of Jupe's story, childhood story is like you see the end of that monkey scene, and he's like the chimp scene, and the chimp notices him and walks over to him, and you think you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? Right? Like, is it gonna go rip into pieces? Yeah. And like you can't really tell if it's going to because it sees him and he's hiding under the table, or if it's gonna just touch his hand because it sees him as like this innocent thing.
I thought it couldn't see through the plastic. I thought it was like distracted by the plastic.
But he's also reaching out to it, so it almost kind of like implied like there was a connection. He was bringing him back, but you just don't get to see it because right before.
Well, the monkey. So a big part of that show is that the monkey does like a fist bump with the characters.
Oh, I didn't even realize
that.
So
the monkey starts to curl curl its hand to fist bump
after brutally murdering four people.
Yeah, and the only way Jupe can think to calm it down as a child is to fist bump back. So he reaches out to fist bump back. But as they're about to connect, like the first responders arrive and shoot the animal dead.
Yeah.
So Jupe has this weird inflated ego, and he thinks he can tame these animals. And he
100%.
thinks he's got this, power over them, and that's why he thinks he can bring this extraterrestrial being into his show.
When in reality, what he should have gathered from that is like you can't control nature.
Yes.
Like you just saw four people get brutally murdered.
But one of them, like
murdered, killed.
Yeah, but one of them is at the show at the end.
That's true.
Did you notice that? That's really interesting.
So my point also there is like, what are they trying to say with having one of his cast members there as well? And he gives it like they made a point of that, and I still haven't put my finger on what he was trying to say about having one of the cast members there that was like brutalized and disfigured but survived.
Yeah.
But point being, he
thinks Predator always finishes the job.
I guess. Like, he thinks he can control it, but there's also like a fascination maybe with it, and, like, and it's exploring like what his fascination is with like nature and this untamable thing that maybe goes to what you were talking about with him trying to gentrify or like he doesn't fully understand it, but he's fascinated with it, and that's humanity. Every time we do that, we usually fuck it up.
Absolutely.
There's something there, but my point being is there seemed to be a connection that Jordan Peele was trying to make between like the intimate nature of like that last moment with the chimpanzee and like how Jupe handled it with the big
chimp
alien.
was called Gordy.
With Gordy.
I just remembered.
Good job with Gordy. Versus like the intimate nature that like OJ has with his horses and how he handles the thing. Yeah. But I just don't know what the message is he's trying to say. Well, that's where I think it falls apart.
Let's talk about the big final action scene then super quickly. So the big final action scene evolves around... So they've got the crew, they've got the A-team together, right? Yeah, they've got OJ, they've got
the prey director that like they get to help him
they do
to help him film without digital.
They've got Holst. Yeah. They've obviously got Angel. They've set up all these cameras around, some of which are not digital, so they can try and capture an image.
TMZ shows up, almost fucks over their shot.
That's my favorite bit of this whole movie. Yeah. And one thing that we didn't touch about, and I wanted to, was the fact that I think this movie goes out of its way to be as realistic as possible in certain scenes. Like, so for example, that TMZ guy rocks up and he's on an electric bike. Yeah. And he's going at 60 miles an hour trying to catch an image of this creature. And then his electricity goes out on his bike because it goes overhead. Yeah. He flies off. And in any other movie, he's walking that off. He's going to get up.
And he's down.
He is snapped. Like his legs are going every way, but like he's so dedicated. He's like, take a picture of me. It's like,
it's kind of like
what is that trying to say?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like the whole, what was that one with
TMZ?
What was that one with what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal, where he's like the Nightcrawler. It was very much like an ode to that. Like, all right, like that statement. But
anyway, but then so the whole crescendo of this is that they're set up. They know it's a predator. They're not looking at it. formulate this plan whereby M stays in the house and puts music on, I think, to try and attract it.
Yeah, distract it or attract it.
Yeah, exactly. OJ then goes out on one of the horses to try and get it to like chase him, so that he can sort of gum it up, I assume.
Yeah, get a shot.
Yeah,
basically.
and then while he's doing that, the guys, Angel and the director on the side can get a good like non-digital image of it. But that kind of works, but at the same time, it fucks up because the director then runs out and decides to get eaten by the thing. But this is when you start to see what it really looks like. So the alien then comes out of its circular shell.
Yeah, because it's like super aggravated.
Yeah, it becomes like this weird, like
vagina looking thing.
Yeah, it's very vaginal.
It's very vaginal.
Very. And it's like
it's a cool design though.
Well, I find it interesting that he's flipped another trope, all that stuff. Like you look at Alien, any of that stuff, it's all phallic, everything. And then it comes down to the M has to try and get the shot on her own, and she's got this TMZ reporter's bike, and she's trying to she gets it away to where Jupe's farm is, where there's an old camera in a well, part of the attraction, I assume, and she gets the picture.
Yeah, she does.
She gets
like
the
through this arduous
picture.
process of like using his like the camera from one of his rides to take the picture, which I think there's something he's saying there too that I haven't quite figured out. Like
probably
the correct way to do it is like not gentrifying everything, but I don't know. I can't really. It's super heady, this movie.
The thing I find most interesting is surely because after this happens, right, a whole ton of reporters are all just there. They're ready to go. Surely if it was that far away, the creature, they would have been able to get a shot of it too. And thinking about it hypothetically, so they kill it, right? So a balloon goes into it, it explodes, and it comes down. Surely they would just find the body.
Well, I think that it kind of like simmered away. It was kind of like
Is that what happened?
It looked like that.
Anyway, I liked the final like action scene. I'm putting quotation marks around that. I thought it built really nicely. The fact the director was his own hubris got the better of him. Yeah, completely fit that character. I thought that was great.
I think that's where like it killed it, right? It's like each person. So you look at Jupe. It's like it's saying like the negative side of Hollywood, where like you like the hubris is so much that you think you can control everything. The Harvey Weinstein, right? Then there's the but then there's like the over artsy people that sacrifice for their art so much for what? Like and they never live a life. And that's what like that other guy was. Like he's like, I need to sacrifice to get this shot so much that I'm gonna be the prey.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm literally gonna kill myself to get the shot.
Absolutely.
And no one's gonna ever see it. And like that's a statement to that side of like avant-garde Hollywood. And then you've got maybe what he's trying to say is like the proper way to do it is to respect it. Okay. To respect the art, and that's what that's what OJ does.
We did it. We
figured it out.
We figured out Jordan Peele at last. It only took us an hour and a half. Look, would you like some true or false trivia? Because we can probably talk about this forever.
I've run out of things to say.
Yeah, let's do a bit of true or false trivia. Okay, all right. I didn't spoil them this week. You'll be happy to know.
Wow. Okay.
Who would have guessed? All right, here you go. True or false, DL? After the release of the film's first trailer at Super Bowl LV1, what number is that? 21? No, I'm so bad with Roman numerals.
Definitely
51. 51.
Yeah, we're much farther than 20.
Yeah. After the release of the film's first trailer at Super Bowl, viewers began to theorize that the film may involve an alien invasion, believing the title acronym for the movie was Not of Planet Earth. Is that true or is that false?
I think that's true.
It is true. Yeah. Now, despite the plot of the film being kept under like top secret wraps, people got it. People just jumped straight onto it. And I don't think they're not of this. I don't think it is. I don't think that's an acronym.
I think they just made that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But I still think that it was a pretty intelligent like thought process, considering like
it was right.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. All right.
I don't know how they guessed it though.
Yeah,
because there was like no hints. That's
the
my
trailer
point.
Was like it was just like flashing images. Yeah. It was crazy.
Well, I guess there were like she got thrown up in it, and you're like, what did that? You know what I mean? Like she gets thrown into the air.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fair enough. All right. Second, true or false, DL. After Gordy, the chimpanzee that we've called a monkey this whole time, exits its rampage on set with young Jupe.
Yes.
He signs to the child. Did I do that? So he uses sign language to the child.
No.
It's false. He actually signed What Happened Family. So he was obviously in a mad rage and had no control of what he was doing. So what happened in that scene was a balloon popped and sent him into a spiral, triggered him. Yeah. So I find that really interesting that he kind of snaps out of it and he's like, "Oh God."
I'm just trying to again think, what does that imply about the rest? Like, why? That's obviously intentional.
Predators maybe, aren't quite responsible for everything they do. No, they can't say that with Harvey Weinstein.
I don't know. That's intentional though.
God. It is. That must have some meaning about the whole predator angle, the observer's angle.
Maybe it's just like maybe it's just like the Hollywood produces addicts and they affect those around them. I don't know. There's plenty of things you could do. You could theorize anyway.
All right, here you go. Final true or false trivia. While Jordan Peele did not explain the significance of the deadly chimpanzee attack witnessed by Jupe as a child, according to analysis published by Variety, it is meant to show that you can't tame a predator and mankind will risk everything for spectacle. Is that true or is that false?
I think it's definitely meant to say that some people will, for sure. That's 100% true.
Well, that's what Variety. This is essentially
I agree with Variety.
That is exactly what Variety said.
I agree with Variety.
Apparently, Jupe exploited the Gordy's home massacre for profit, and similarly thought he could tame the creature to, get profit for his own business. So I find that very interesting. And that kind of ties into a lot of the things we were talking about. I feel like we nailed it. We did such a good job, DL. Look, ultimately, I feel like this was a masterclass in tension building and suspense. While some of the longer scenes were a little bit too long for my liking, and the CGI did get a bit ropey at times, I thought the ending was ultimately well deserved.
Yeah, it was really. I think it was a good movie, and in the climax, I find myself more often than not being bored during the climax of a lot of the movies I watch. Not the case in this one. I was intrigued. Do you agree with that?
I agree. No,
most Marvel movies, the climax is the worst part.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, big time. We talked about it so many times.
Which is so bad.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want a little bit of correspondence?
Yeah, let's hear what they have to say.
Now, we got a couple of bits this week, and I'm excited because we did take a couple of weeks of not doing much, and we had a few bits to come back to, which I really liked. And we got a couple of bits of really nice feedback. Now, I mentioned one last week, and this is in a very similar vein, actually, with the same TV show, funnily enough. Friend of the show, Chris, he said, loves the content. Thank you, Chris. He also said, fantastic recommendation on the show Boys. The Boys, sorry. He said, it's such an amazing show, but absolutely not family friendly. I think we got that across pretty well.
I think if you listen to the pod, you'd know.
He just said, fucking diabolical, mate.
Yeah, it's fucking diabolical.
Have you watched it yet?
Diabolical.
Got into season 3 yet?
I haven't, mate.
That's a no?
Diabolical.
No, it's diabolical. You haven't watched season 3 yet.
Yeah, I haven't.
It's so good.
It's there. I know.
All right.
I think I'm just gonna finish Deadwood and then I'll watch it.
Good idea. Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Give yourself something to look forward to.
Yeah, plenty of things.
All right. Friend of the show, Matt. Thank you again, friend of the show, Chris. And thank you, friend of the show, Matt, for getting in contact. He said he's seen Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, I'm not sure. This isn't spoilers, so I'm not giving anything away. But he said he's got to admit it wasn't his favorite Marvel film, even though he felt Christian Bale did an amazing job as the bad guy. What did we think? Now, we haven't done a podcast on Thor: Love and Thunder yet. We probably will when it comes out in streaming, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Sure
But as you haven't seen it.
Yes, I haven't.
I pretty much agree with that. You know what? I'm going to wait and see what you think about Christian Bale's character. I'm going to say I didn't like it as much as everyone else does.
I haven't heard like glowing reviews from anyone. So I think a lot of my close friends that loved Phase 1 through 4, 3 are just over it now. Like they want them to do more. Yeah.
Well, all right then. On a similar note, friend of the show Joe said he watched both Moon Knight and Loki, and neither of them gripped him. Even Loki.
Really?
He says his attention.
He's a hard sell, Joe.
He says his attention for Phase 4 is slipping.
I get it, but he's a hard sell.
He must be. Like, thank you, friend of the show, Joe. But he also asked, what did we think of Obi-Wan? And I say, go back and listen to the fucking episode. We did a full episode on it, Joe. Go back and listen to that. We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He was all right. He was more content.
I dug it.
It was good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for contacting us. And thank you all for listening. We really appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
Where can they find us, dear?
They can find us at thepodcastassemble@gmail.com and podcastassemble on Instagram.
You can.
You'll see many IMDb pick comparisons.
You will this
Some half-decent memes. Sometimes there's some shit. We're not always smart.
Friend of the show, Lockie, does his best.
Yeah, he's his best. I agree with that. I do my best too. Doesn't always.
You don't do
show up.
anything, so you can't say a word. You literally haven't done anything the whole time. No.
The other thing I would like to say is, if you thought we nailed it today, give us a good review.
Absolutely.
On the Apple Store.
You can do it on Apple. You can do it on Spotify. You can do it in app. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Do you want to wrap up the show?
Well, I think that's really all I got to say, folks. Thank you for tuning in.
We do appreciate it. How about some grassroots efforts?
Yeah, some grassroots efforts to
pass the pod.
That's what I meant with the 5-star. Pass the pod.
No, tell a friend. Tell your boss.
Tell a friend.
Why don't you tell your boss?
Tell your boss. Why not? Oh, Phil, if
It's
you're listening,
funny.
if you got this far, well done.
Well done.
You're a good dude.
You're a hero.
Hour and a half in.
To be honest, a lot of my work colleagues do know about it, but mainly by osmosis, because I had to ask, because I work for a big tech company, and we have platforms that help with things like podcasting, and I've asked a bunch of our technical guys how to use some of this stuff in the past.
Yeah.
So a lot of my knowledge is built from what they've told me.
Yeah.
And they've sort of said to me, like in the office and stuff, like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then someone else will have heard, and someone else will have heard.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I hate talking about it. I'm not good at talking about the podcast.
I'm okay talking about it. It's just when it's unexpected, there's a lot
when
of
when your boss comes at you. Why don't you leave us a review?
Yeah, leave
Bob?
us 5.
What's his name?
Bob. We'll go with Bob.
Bob.
That's
Dre's boss, Bob. Leave us a review.
Yeah.
Let us know what you really think. That'd be fantastic.
Thank you. And until next time, we'll be back next week talking about something. Till next time, Tally-o.